come to a landing who I am and what am I capable of. Who am I? Am I just going to be a normal? Am I going to be average? Or am I going to be par excellent? Am I going to be productive? Or am I going to be non-productive? Only you have all these answers, and nobody can tell you who you are. So you have to deep and search within yourself to find out who you are. Are you going to be a good engineer, a good scientist, a good manager, a good CEO, whichever the case may be you decided you do in your life? But you must have a strong belief. And half of the battle will be won if you have a very strong conviction about your ability. Whether you sit down in an auditorium like this time to speak to people, whether you are working alone as a person or as a small group, the self-belief will create an opportunity, and the aura of a very successful organization. And no organization, whether you are MNC, or Fortune 500, if you look at the traits and the character of the company, is a company that have a very strong belief in themselves and the ability to go forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, students, please, I hope you inculcate and discover your own journey in yourself, whichever way you go, and to have a very strong conviction about yourself in your ability. And as your chancellor always remind all of us, nothing is impossible. Dr. Mahathir doesn't want to hear the word no. He wants to hear the word I will try. Yeah, and the word no doesn't exist in this dictionary. So let us remind ourselves, nothing is impossible, but it starts with a belief, it starts with faith, patience, and many other attributes that will give you to this journey that you're going to do in your life. Now, the other attribute that often enough does not belong to many people is the art of communication. Now, let's define what communication means. Communication is not really going down to go to a meeting, you give an instruction, blah, 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 and you walk out in the room. And when your boss asks you, have you communicated? Yes, I've communicated with my people. That, my friends, is not communication. Communication is about understanding. It's about a two-way traffic. As the saying goes, seek first to understand before you be understood. Before you want yourself to be understood as a person, you must then seek to try to understand what other people want, what other people need, what other people expect of you, of your organization, and whatever thing that you represent. It's not about, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to have, and I walk off in the room. That you don't need a very smart person to do. You can just hire anybody from the street and just give instructions. But the successful people are the ones that communicate. And it's not just about talking, it's about learning, it's about teaching, it's about engaging, it's about syndication of many thoughts, many ideas, many values, and so on. And that, my dear friend, is about communication. And, even today, I'm still discovering the technique of improving communication. It's never ending. There are many ways for people to communicate. Sometimes you have to adapt. And especially, a salesman, for example, and today selling Proton cars. If a person that walks into a room, if you're going to have the same pitch of communication, 10 years ago you might be successful. But today, pitching to an old lady, selling a car to a lawyer or a doctor requires two different sets of skills. In a survey that we took before, 80 people that buy cars, they go to the internet first before they come to the showroom. Which means our customers today, perhaps, know more about cars than a salesman does. And this was different about 15 or 20 years ago, where orang kata salesman boleh kelentong. All this man will tell a fast one and the customer say, yes, I believe you and I'll buy the car. But those days are gone. You will try to kelentong and I tell you, the customer will tell you and something about the engine. And there it goes. You have made a very unsuccessful sale and you lost a customer, and more importantly, you will damage a brand. But this goes about communication, and communication is not static. It continues to evolve from one division to the other, from one company to the other, and one country to the other. I have to deal with 28 different countries with 28 different nationalities. I'm sure Petronas does the same thing. And everywhere I go, the language of communication will have to be different. The body languages will have to be different. The eye-to-eye context will have to be different. Huh? Of course, if you go to Japanese, you say yes, hi. If you go to India, you have to say hi this way. So sometimes you get confused. Huh? And you have to try to communicate in their own language, you know. And I'm not saying that I learn many languages, but I have enough vocabulary to speak in the few. But that is about communication. If you're going to think, I'm going to communicate in only one way, in the only way I know how, then I think you are doomed for failure. Because people are not going to respect and reach out to you. And obviously today it's about reaching out. It's about making businesses. And it's about making opportunities. And opportunities can only be created if people do communicate. And sometimes you don't have to go very far. I mean, I know, even in Proton today, we must admit, even within ourselves, we are not communicating. We create silos, we create obstacles. And because when you trace really what is wrong, it's all about one personal ego. So this is something that we don't need, you know, and something that you don't need in your journey going forward. Whatever the three, letter word that you have, ego, please lock it in a very safe box and just leave it behind. It's not going to help you to go anywhere you want to go, and surely it will not do you any good. So go and communicate. The seventh attribute is about knowledge. The knowledge that you gather in the last 4 years in UTP is only the beginning of the vast sea of knowledge that you can see out there. And every day that you go when you report for duty in any way you go, it's about going to a school. It's what we call a corporate school. Everything that you go is about knowledge and it's about education. And for us Muslim, knowledge is, it's something that we have to aspire and desire until the last breath. It's about mencari ilmu. So please be hungry for knowledge. Don't think that I have enough. You can now. I think knowledge is easily available in many different forms, shapes. We are in the electronic age. You can go to the internet, you can Google, and there's abundance of knowledge. It's a question of whether you want or you don't. So learn from your organization, learn from the people around you, learn from the electronic media, and more importantly, also learn from mistakes. Mistakes are the best lessons in life. And surely don't be scared to make mistakes. There's not one successful person in this world, I believe, that has not made any mistake. It's a journey. It's part of life. I know some of you are always jittery about making mistakes, and same thing I did when I first joined the company. But as you go along, it's better to make mistake than not to make one at all. Because every time you make a mistake, it's always about a learning process. You learn something, and obviously we hope by making that mistake, more importantly is for you not to repeat and to learn what we call lessons learned, so that you will continue and strive to be a better person. So be always hungry for knowledge, no matter where you are, and seek for knowledge, create knowledge opportunities, both tangible and non-tangible, and doesn't have to be from books. I mean, my chairman, Dato Muhammad Nazmi always say, the best lessons in life is about nature. You look around you and see how nature adapts itself. How the trees, the ecosystem, the animal adapt, the predator and the one that's being eaten. It's all about adaptation. It's about survival. So if you go to any corporate university or any company, it's also about learning lessons from nature. How do you adapt and how do you survive? Now, people